And now we present to you America's quintessential iconoclastic anomaly. Wow. In talk radio, your host, Joe Cristiano.
And welcome to Liberty Talk Radio. I'm your host, Joe Cristiano. Folks, isn't it time that we took back control of our government? Now, before this bureaucratic, oversized, and self-serving federal government starves us of our property, our freedom, our rights, and our liberty. To do this, we must shed conventional thinking regarding our political structure. I want you to understand that, folks. We need to shed conventional thinking regarding our political structure, and that includes probably abandoning most belief systems that we have held to ourselves and held as true all of our lives. We need to be revolutionaries in thought, dissidents in action. I want to repeat that. We need to be revolutionaries in thought, dissidents in action. And do you realize, just for saying that, I can be detained indefinitely in some sort of FEMA camp or wherever, or maybe Guantanamo, for the rest of my life, and no one would know where I am, and I would never be seen again. God bless America. Only after we recognize what our government is doing to our freedom and our Constitution will we start taking it back. And this program is going to be just about that, folks. We're not going to discuss events. We don't have the time to discuss events, although today or tonight we will be discussing more subjects than normal because the OSU game sort of eroded half hour of our program, and they allotted us an additional hour. So we have an hour and a half program. During the second part of our program, we're going to have a very distinguished guest, and I'll introduce him a little later on. Stay tuned. You want to hear what he has to say. Before we get into our program, I'd like to discuss the fact that, we do have an internet broadcast on Thursday morning, except for the third Wednesday of each month. We have Handy Sutton, the economist, who's been on this program here at 1170 KFAQ on Wednesday evening at 7 Central Time. We also, if you go to YouTube, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm getting instructions from all the clowns in this office here. And,
you hired them.
I know
Joe.
that. Well, I tell you, that's what happens when you go to clown college and you ask only for the PhDs. Only the PhDs I wanted clown college. This is the only reason why I don't fire them is because I feel sorry for them.
Tell him what
you go to libertytalkradio.com, and right on our website is a YouTube of this show every week. He won't listen to himself, folks. He won't look at himself. He's too humble. I know you have a hard time believing that, but folks, if you want to see this show, we're taping it right now. So there you go. Okay, that's all I was trying to get across, Joe.
I'm changing professions. I want you to know it right now, folks.
Uh-oh.
So this may be my last broadcast. I don't know. Okay. But we have a host of subjects. I've had Paul Jacobs on this well, excuse me. Here we go again.
He also has an app.
Oh, the app.
Okay.
God forbid we
listen,
the
he
app.
won't promote the app because I don't think he believes in it. But you know what? He's got one. And if you want to listen to his show, you can use your smartphone to do it. Yeah, you can just go to Liberty Talk Radio either through your Android store or through your iPhone store, and you can get the internet show he does every week. Many times Andy Sutton's the guest, and it's right there on your phone, and you can plug it in, and you can listen to it while you're waiting for the doctor or whatever, and it's continually on a loop, and so you get the whole show, and you start at maybe the beginning or the end or wherever you start, and you get to hear the whole show. So get the app. YouTube. And then go to not go to YouTube.
Yes, go to YouTube.
Don't go to YouTube.
Yes.
Okay, just go to Liberty Talk Radio.
No, don't listen to him.
Okay, I'm done.
I think Gary's checking over the
This is the end of today's program. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to Murphy's Bar and Grill, after this, And drinks are not going to be on the house. I'm drinking it all myself. Oh, my goodness gracious.
God.
Someone help me.
All right, you can have a show back now.
Oh, thank you so much. Listen, what difference does it make? There's no one listening at this point, Anyway, Paul Jacobs has been on this program, and I have the utmost respect for him. Man is a prolific writer. On a daily basis, he writes Common Sense.
And I subscribe to that.
Yeah, it's absolutely free.
Yeah.
I mean, just think. You have words of wisdom, some really insight absolutely free of charge. Short, 5 minutes. You can read the whole thing. It stimulates your mind, other than watching, unlike watching television, and it's free. Now, what he had on his last Common Sense, he wrote about a man being arrested in Deming, New Hampshire, for crawling through a stop sign. He didn't stop all the way. He sort of stopped a little bit and then creeped in, sort of like I do sometimes. And he was caught doing so. Bingo. So the cop stopped him, and he acted suspicious, according to the police. But the police felt, for some reason, no one knows why at this point, felt that he was trafficking drugs, right? And they couldn't find any drugs on him. And they felt that he was, and I forgot the way he put it, but they thought that he had hidden the drugs up his rectum. No, I'm not kidding you. No, I'm not kidding.
Are you serious?
I am
absolutely. Tell me they looked up his name and address.
This is not like the clowns that are in the studio. This is the truth. This is not a joke. And so what they did, well, surprisingly, the cop didn't do anything in the middle of the street. They called. They drove him to the local hospital, right? And they had an entire investigation.
Rectal exam?
They had a rectal exam,
free,
including a colonoscopy. Okay, right?
Wow.
The man was, I hate to say this, the man was found clean, but all right, this show is going down
all the way.
We'll never come back again. But no, nothing was found. All right, he left the hospital, didn't get an apology for all this. All right, went home. In a couple of days, he receives a letter in the mail from the hospital, and it's a bill for the colonoscopy. No, I'm not kidding. So now the man is suing everyone.
Everybody.
And I hope he would. We talk about being at war. This man's at war now. He is suing, and I hope he wins. I hope he wins as much money as it cost us to develop the Obamacare website.
He needs to make at least that $680 million over it.
I mean, think of it's incredible. And you would think that once he called the hospital and say, hey, this is not mine. I didn't order this. The New Hampshire Police Department did. And they didn't, reverse the charges. They said, not my problem, your problem. It was your rectum, you pay. You go, my God, where are we?
Where are we going?
Yeah, where are we going? Anyway, folks, this man is at war, right? And if you really think about it, we really are at war. And I hate war. I hate the concept of war, because once you study war, you realize the insanity of it. You realize that war is all in the indoctrination of the mind. Every war that was fought after we had to indoctrinate the people that this was the right thing to do, but instinctively they understood that it was wrong to get into the war, and that includes World War I and World War II. And every single war, folks, every war is a banker's war. There are people who make money at war. And it ain't you and me. Unless you're one of the ruling elite or you're a bankster, you ain't making any money because the money comes out of your wallet and my wallet. But we are perennially at war. Now, you would think, well, geez, who is it? Is it Syria? Is it Iraq? Iran?
It's the banks.
Right? And when you really think and analyze the situation, unfortunately, folks, we are at war with our own government.
Yep.
Isn't that sad? I mean, it is so sad. I'll tell you how bad things have gotten, from my perspective. A few months ago, I tripped over a station, a news station called RT. It was on the satellite station. It
Russian
was on
Times.
number 280.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
I love that station.
Thank you for spoiling. Thank you for spoiling.
Oh my God!
Thank you for keep your mouth shut. Thank you for spoiling my punchline. But I'm watching it, And if someone would only come in here, please, and give a colonoscopy to these clowns, you do me a favor.
Back to Clown College.
God, nothing is going right today. I tell you this. But I was watching it for weeks. It's on 280 on satellite. That's the number if you have direct TV, any dish TV. And I said, geez, this is terrific news. I mean, it's balanced. It's what you don't hear on the regular news, but the ABC, NBC, CNN. And I said, well, I wonder what RT stands for. So I go on the internet and I type in RT. It stands for Russian news. I have been watching Russian news. And I thought to myself, 40 years ago, if someone had suggested that I would be watching Russian news and saying, hey, this is good news, I would say you're out of your mind.
Have you ever watched Al Jazeera?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Now, Al Jazeera apparently is having some problems. They're having a lot of pressure to sort of bias the news more so than they have in the past, so I've stayed away from them recently. But they have people on there like Peter Schiff. They have people like Max Kaiser. I mean, people who take an independent point of view and look at the world. And in fact, I was watching them the other day, and they were talking about the influence of the Israel lobby on the United States Senate. Have you ever heard that on mainstream TV? Now, we know that's the truth. Everyone in the world knows that's the truth, but you never hear it. And they had this little little ad, and it said it had an airplane, this little biplane going by on the screen, and it said weapons of mass distraction, and the bomb, and each bomb, there was 3 bombs: NBC, CBS, ABC. And it's really, really interesting. And I don't listen to the regular news, but I'm not certain whether or not those stations ever make a comment about Russian news.
They won't.
They won't. I bet you they wouldn't dare. Because if there's a war, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
They'll lose it. And you know what? Not only will they lose that argument, but they would lose their listenership. Because most people don't even know this news. And I just fell upon it by accident. Oh, we have a break now. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, I'd like for all of my listeners, all 2 or 3 of them, how many we have left, to call in 855-866-1170. That's 855-866-1170. Any question? Let's make this open mic night since we have plenty of time. Don't be afraid to call. Don't be afraid to interrupt. And any subject is open on the table. Okay, let's do that. 855-866-1170. Of course, our email address is comments@libertytalkradio.com. I've been saying, what do I mean by that? Well, you see, folks, everything that is being done with the government doing what? Think about it. The government has and is attacking our Constitution. And when someone attacks our Constitution, which means us, our right to be a free peoples, we are at war. But they do a terrific job of convincing us that them attacking us is for our own good and protection. And so far, they are winning that war. Let me repeat this. They are winning that war. Let me give you a stark example. Most of you know, and most Americans know today, that there are FEMA camps being built around the United States. This is, excuse me? Especially for me. Thank you.
2 in Oklahoma.
I tell you, the support I get here is so warm. It's amazing. But really, we all know that there are FEMA camps being built all over the country. It's scary. These places are mammoth. They will take thousands of people just to operate and to administer. They cost multi-millions of dollars each. And no one is answering the question, why do we have these? Well, of course, they'll say, in case of a national disaster. And you know why they're there. But let me tell you something. The FEMA camps are not our problem. I know it sounds strange, the FEMA camps are not the problem. Because the government has done such an effective job that although we are not inside those FEMA camps, just being a citizen of these United States, we are living in a FEMA camp. We are already inmates. We are no longer citizens of this country. We are inmates of the FEMA camp, which is the United States. I want that to sink into every mind. And the sooner that we recognize that and it sinks in and we say, oh my God, what happened to this country, the sooner we'll find a way to break out of it. And we will not break out of it, provided that we think the FEMA camps are over in another county. The FEMA camp is in a county where you live.
Right.
We are all prisoners. You can do absolutely nothing without being registered, without seeking permission. If you want to cut someone's hair, you have to go to cosmetology school for 2 years. Because God forbid you give someone a bad haircut. But that's not the point. We know what the point is. The point is control and getting money from your pocket into the system to those people who are running the government. And the government is not being run by our Congress, not by our Senate, not by the Executive Committee, not by the Judicial Committee. It is run by the banks.
By bureaucrats.
But forget the bureaucrats, by the banks.
And the banks.
By the banks. You know how it works. You know the scheme. We all know the scheme. We don't want to recognize the scheme. Because if we do, it is uncomfortable. You might even lose sleep tonight and every night hereafter, and I don't blame you, and you should. There is a merger, and you know the merger, between government and industry.
Corporations.
And where do you think that money comes from? The banks. Why do you think General Electric is still in existence today? Think about that. There is a group, a small group of bankers that control absolutely everything. Have you ever thought about the insanity of a private corporation, a private cabal? It's not even a corporation. Given the sole right to print our money, that we have to buy from them, in which there is absolutely no mathematical way to pay them back. And do you know that was approved on the day that cabal was put into effect on the day before Christmas Eve at 3 o'clock in the morning? Now, of course, whenever you have an important piece of legislation, you wait for Christmas Eve. That's the time we do things around here.
Right.
But if there was legislation which was sort of anti-government, pro-people, and restricted the government on the day before Christmas Eve, there would be outrage by every senator, every congressman, and every corrupt official in office. But you know what? We don't want to know that. We don't want to know that. We just want to know that the government is doing their job to protect us.
Comic book history.
We have a caller. Yes, please, let's take a call now. I'm sorry, the screen went blank here.
Lloyd from Henrietta is on the line, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe.
Oh, okay. Who do we have? Is this Lloyd from Henrietta?
Yeah, I just wanted to apprise you of a situation that I've encountered before is whenever your show runs past 8 o'clock, when people call in, what they get's the answer machine. You might want to be aware of that.
Uh-oh.
You might not get any callers after 8. Just, I mean, I expect that.
I'll watch that as we go to the station break.
Okay, yeah, we'll watch that. We didn't know that, Lloyd. Thank you very much. I appreciate you calling in and letting us know.
Huh.
Yeah, well, I was so glued to the 6.5 hours of pregame and football and all of that stuff, but I thought you might want to talk about some football tonight. Or
No.
something really
Not this
important rather than, your usual dull stuff.
Well, what we can do is we can, well, sure, I can talk about any football game. That was a really good football game. What we did, I'm remembering back really how it going. We had this running game, and we got a team. I'll tell you this, and this team was really good. The same.
Yeah, the defense. The defensive game.
I tell you, Lloyd, do you ever watch those post games and pre-game football game shows, Lloyd?
No.
Well, I do every once in a while because I love. You don't know if you're listening to a post game of 1941 or 19. You have no idea, or 2013. You have no idea. They all say the same thing. How proud they are, and and they have a team, and this team.
The only thing I hate worse is after the debate of presidents. Or the pundit or the guys that come on.
That's awful.
Oh, I hate that even worse.
It's like Eeyore.
I mean, I'd rather hear, the sports after game show than those guys.
Hey, Lloyd, do you have any words of wisdom for us this evening?
Well, in your despair there, talking about the FEMA camps and the way our country's going, I read a book quite a while back called "It Can't Happen Here." It was written by Sinclair Lewis back in the 1930s, and it was more or less a futuristic thing. And of course, that's the mentality of a lot of people, is that it can't happen here. And I assure you,
it's happened.
Yeah. Hey, Lloyd, you want to hold on the line? We have to go break. Could you hold, or would you like to call back, or whatever you want to do? Is this a hard break?
Please hold.
Make him hold.
Yeah, we got to break for news, and then we'll keep Lloyd on the line.
Yeah, this is going to be. Yeah, if you want to hold on, we've got to go for the news and stuff like that. If you want to hold, you're more than welcome to, or you can call back. I'll leave it up to you.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Welcome back to Liberty Talk Radio. This is your host, Joe Cristiano, and welcome to the University of Logic, better known as Cristiano's Conservatory, correcting convoluted conversation. We still have on our line, we have an extended program, by the way, tonight, folks. We'll be here till 9 o'clock Central Time, and we still have the line, Lloyd. Lloyd, do you have any other comments to make? You're on the air.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. But,
we charge by the minute, Lloyd. Please take all the time you want.
Just talk fast, Lloyd. Talk fast.
Mostly, I just wanted to let you know that when you've had the shows in the past, that your line, people call in and you end up getting the answering machine. But if I would say one thing, you mentioned a few shows back something about what can we do, or someone mentioned that, and you're doing about all that we can do, and that is just enlightening other people that things aren't right, especially things that you see, or actually, as far as you were talking about the news networks, it's not necessarily what they say, it's what they don't tell you.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
And you see, liberty-minded people, by definition, are averse to structured organization. So we don't organize well like the opposition does. And, I mean, I've found that in trying to get people organized, during the Ron Paul thing, but that with Ron Paul being as basically the focus point, we were able to get some, but still, when you try to get them to do something else, the people who are liberty-minded, they are independent people and are not going to organize for very long. It's similar to the way our country started out with a few liberty-minded people, but it was taken over almost immediately, by all of the people who more or less wanted to gain some power somewhere, and they're better better at it than we are because they like to organize.
Oh yeah, they are. And when you mentioned Ron Paul, I have a flashback. And I guess the starkest flashback is when he was being interviewed by Sean Hannity, and Sean Hannity introduced and said, "We have our guest today is Dr. Ron Paul." And immediately vilified him. They ripped. It was nasty. And every time he asked him a question, you could tell it was condescending. And Ron Paul just sit there and he just took it and then he answered the question. And of course, then when the other guy came on, it was all flowers, peaches, and cream. And I tell you, I was just fuming. I was absolutely fuming. Absolutely no respect at all. None. Absolutely none. Like Rodney Dangerfield, I get no respect, none at all. And he did, In fact, Ron Paul would have been better off if he had as his mascot, if you will,
Rodney
Dangerfield, or me, I get no respect at all. You have no idea how bad it is out there. And it was a shame, Well, thank you so much for calling in and letting us know. We're getting our technicians to look at that incoming line to make sure people can get in. Lloyd, thank you very much, and I'll be talking to you again, hopefully. Okay?
All righty.
All right, bye-bye now. If you please do try to call in 855-866-1170. We want to hear from you, and it can be any subject. We were talking about the FEMA camps, and we are the FEMA camps. Under FEMA camps, we are limited. The United States is a FEMA camp. Think that way. Now, they build these camps as these camps that are being built in your backyard, by the way, are simply symbolic. They're symbolic because when they imprint in your subconscious that, geez, if I'm not careful, I will wind up there. So all of a sudden, you are on guard. Instead of saying something or doing something that would be would not please the government, you don't do it. And that's exactly where we are. Folks understand that.
They know everything we're doing. They have us all profiled in a big computer. So no one wants to risk that.
Yeah. And the language that they use today, I was listening to a discussion. I forgot which station it was on Vietnam War. And I just got more angry and more angry and more angry the more they went on. Because at not one time during that hour-long discussion did they refer to the Vietnam conflict as the Vietnam invasion. I do not recall any Viet Cong, Vietnamese, or anyone from Laos or Vietnam or any part from French Indochina, as they used to call it, coming into my neighborhood, bombing or attacking anyone. But what we did, and the government now will admit that the Gulf of Tonkin incident, they say, sort of probably never happened. Sort of probably never happened. So what we did is, because it sort of probably never happened, and like that, and things like that happen, we decided to kill over 1 million Vietnamese. We decided to defoliate part of a country, probably the most beautiful country in the world, defoliated of its plants, right? Using weapons of mass destruction, which not only killed, maimed, and made ill the people of that country, and for decades they will be ill, but our own soldiers came back ill and have a difficult time. I've had people on my program who were affected by Agent Orange and cannot get the proper medical care. And here we are asked to think. Now listen, folks, carefully. We are asked to send our troops, support our troops, send them to Syria because Syria may have weapons of mass destruction. And if they do, we have to do something about it. But at no time do our history books say that we invaded a country, used weapons of mass destruction, unnecessarily killed over 1 million inhabitants, left the country, and gave no restitution for it. Just think of that. If any other country would have done that to another, even if the United States was not involved, that would be written up by our history books, line for line. Every single action that the United States would think were wrong, was unconscionable, it would be laid out. And us? No. We were trying to liberate the people of Vietnam. And you know what? And we believe it. Now, here's the bad part, is that we send our men and women to fight. Because what we do, now remember, we are at war all the time. You are at war. We send our men and women to fight. And then when they come back, we go, oh, our brave men. They come back without their arms, their legs, and their minds, right? And sometimes they don't come back at all. And we want to say, oh, but, these are our heroes. Now, wait a minute. Now, believe me, this has nothing to do with the people, the soldiers themselves. But just think. I want you to think that do they deserve to be called heroes or unfortunate citizens that have been duped into killing people overseas for no reason? Now, I'm not blaming our men and women. Don't go there, because I know it's dangerous what I'm saying. But I don't mean that. I have the utmost respect for them. I feel sorry for them, and everyone should. But you could imagine if everyone felt that way, we'd say, no, my daughter, my son, ain't going anywhere. Not that place. They'll join the Army, the Marines, the Navy, the Air Force to protect this country in the event someone invades us. They will go in and wear the uniform to protect this country and protect the precepts of this Constitution. Beyond that, they ain't going anywhere. When is the last time you heard that? I'll tell you when. Never. And then they have the ribbons that say support our troops. Now, and I'm asked this all the time. Every time I've come, they say, well, Joe, don't you support our troops? That's not the question. The question is this. I say, yes, I support our troops, but I do not support what our troops are forced to do. But does anyone, any station, CNN, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, anyone ever say, but wait a minute, forget the ribbons? Why don't we ask, do we support what we are forcing our men and women to do? And if we can say with clear conscience, yes, we do, let them nuke everybody, let them kill innocent men and women, then send your child, send your daughter and your son, please. But then you're not American. Then you don't believe in the Constitution. Quite frankly, you should be expelled. Go anywhere, but don't live here. Kind of radical. Kind of crazy, isn't it?
Nope.
And all I'm asking you to do, folks, all I'm asking you to do is to think. I'm not going to talk about events like did you hear what so-and-so said yesterday in Senate? Let me tell you something. You hear if you listen to MSNBC, everything the Republicans do wrong. They'll pick everything the Republicans do that are wrong, and they'll harp on it. You listen to Fox News, everything the Democrats do, they'll pick on everything the Democrats do, and everything they do is wrong. Now, folks, listen real carefully to this. Listen carefully to this. Don't turn me off yet. I'm here to tell you both stations are correct. They're both correct.
They're both wrong.
If you think about it, They cherry pick, right?
Yeah.
And then the other side, and they're right. But if they're both right, where does that place you when you vote for the lesser of two evils? People ask me in Tulsa, they say, "You voting?" I said, "Yeah, provided there's a third party, candidate that doesn't have a hope and a prayer of winning, I'll vote. Other than that, you ain't getting my vote. I'm staying home. I'm watching some I Love Lucy reruns. I'm going to do something productive."
Hey, Joe, let me ask you, what would be wrong if we had the ballot?
We have a break?
A break?
Hold on.
You go ahead. You can answer.
Oh, okay.
Hey, what would be wrong if we had a ballot that had just the public office listed with a couple, a line under it? Just one line under each one of the public offices that people could go and vote on. What would be wrong with that?
Nothing.
Why in the hell?
I can give you an answer. In fact, when we come back from our break, I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to give you an alternative to our voting system, which is so clean, so neat, palatable to everyone except for the clowns in office.
Yeah,
And I don't want to take up too much time because I want our guests to have the rest of the time on, okay? But we have a break now. Let's take our break. We'll come back. Joe Cristiano here. You're listening to Liberty Talk Radio. Thank you for listening to me rant so far. I'm not finished, by the way. But what I'd like to do, folks, is I'd like to take you from at least to start thinking. I want you to start thinking because from thinking comes questioning. From questioning comes non-acceptance. From non-acceptance comes skepticism. And from skepticism, you finally attain independence. Do you understand that? From thinking to questioning, from questioning to non-acceptance, from non-acceptance to skepticism, skepticism to independence. And that's where I'd like to lead you. Now, do I know everything? Am I brilliant and smart? No, I'm not. Maybe if I was smart, I wouldn't be doing this. Really, if I was smart, I wouldn't be opening my mouth and putting me and my family vulnerable. But I do have a perspective that I want to share with you, and I have a passion for freedom and liberty.
That comes from
love. I want you
love.
to have that same. What's that?
That comes from love.
Love, even love, whatever that means.
Okay.
My son said, my youngest son, which he says, "Dad, I love you." I said, "You want to know something? Don't want your love. I want your respect." Think about that.
That's a good thought.
No, really. I mean, but my only reason why I bring that up, and I know it's sort of a. Hold on a second. It's okay. Yeah. I want to bring that up is because not that it's a change in venue now. It's that I want you to understand that we use words that we do not understand. I want to use words that we understand. Okay? All right, we're going to bring them out. Yeah, I'm getting signals from everyone, folks. It's great being, having your own program because you have plenty of people telling you what the heck to do every minute of the program.
That's why you pay me so much.
That's right,
Joe.
and that's why you pay him so much. And people have written, say, "Have emailed, why don't you fire those clowns?" I got, well, because I have a heart. No one else would hire
Just
them.
like he said,
no
love.
one else.
We'd be destitute without
now there's
Joe.
the love.
These guys
Show
are
me the love.
Walmart rejects. Let me tell you, they're Walmart rejects, bunch of clowns. I tell you this.
Show me the love.
And I'll tell you, I get no respect from these guys at all. No respect whatsoever. No,
We
it's
love you,
true.
Joe.
Government does a great job also of pitting the rich against the poor. They think that this is happening. No, this is a scheme, folks. Because what they do is they come in as the benevolent, the benevolent. And what they do is then when they're fighting the rich against the poor, and it's not the rich against the poor because the super rich don't pay a dime on this, it's everyone else in between. It's you and me. We pay for this war that the government trumps up, right? Money goes to the poor, which makes them poorer, and it makes everyone else poorer, but the only people who gain are the rich. So this war against the rich and the poor actually benefits the rich, who are the people in office and connected to the politicians in office. So anytime you say, well, the government, if it wasn't for the government, if it wasn't for the government, we wouldn't have a war between rich and poor because we'd have very few poor and we'd have everyone else who's doing very damn good.
Oh, they don't. They don't
See,
like that.
They don't like
no,
that.
They don't like
that.
that.
Heck no. You see, it's a form of fascism, social, whatever you want. I don't care names, the terms, but that's what happens. But when we hear these, people always want to throw out terms and they think it's an answer. There's no answer there.
You know what I'd call it? Anti-freedom.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Pretty simple.
Anti-freedom, during World War II, the United States was thinking about producing millions of handguns. Right? Yeah, 9mm Makarovs, for example, because that's what they used there. One of my favorite rounds, by the way. It's a small 9mm Luger, basically. And they were going to drop all these guns, millions of them, over France and Germany, so that the citizens would use these guns against protect themselves. Just think about that, they said, hey, that's a great idea. Now, how about dropping guns all over the United States so the citizens would have to protect them against an abusive government? Oh no, it doesn't work now.
No.
Okay,
All right, do that.
Yeah, I'm going to introduce my guest now. Next week, someone remind me that I want to talk about technology and liberty next week. Tune in next
Technology
week.
and liberty.
Technology and liberty, really. And I'm not talking about the drones. I'm talking about regular old-fashioned technology and liberty and how that affects us. Okay, with us today, let's see, I have as our guest today Bud Pilch. I'm sorry. Pilch. I'm sorry. Bud Pilch.
He got
You have
two syllables out of that.
Yeah. Well, I gave him 3 names. He can pick whichever one he wants. He's a small business owner, a husband, and a father. And right here in Tulsa, he created a website, mylocalpatriots.com, which he refers to as the People's Chamber of Commerce. Bud, welcome to Liberty Talk Radio.
I like that already.
Thank you, Cristiano. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.
Get up to the microphone there, bud. There you go.
All right.
Come
As
on
you
in.
were talking
Get
about
close.
earlier, dropping guns over Germany and the American citizens being able to defend themselves, we already have that. We have our dollars. We have our money. Start treating it like that.
Well, he's going to make an analogy here.
This website that I developed is, as you said, it's the People's Chamber of Commerce. The idea is to redirect the flow of money away from those that are bringing socialism here to America. Now, if all of us bond together and just do all of our business exclusively with each other, then we will defund the progressive/socialist movement in this country. Pretty simple idea.
You know what? It's simple, but it's profound. It's absolutely profound. Absolutely.
Why is it profound?
Yeah, it's profound because I never thought of it.
As this idea came to me, the way it came to me, my wife and I were discussing whether or not we were going to have children. And a question that came up was, do we really want to be having kids with the shape that our country's in? So as I reflected on that question, it brought 2 things to mind. First, I know there's a problem here, and am I going to do anything about it? Well, I decided to take it upon myself to create a solution. Just me as an individual, I can't make a big splash. But all of us who share the idea of freedom and liberty, and we believe in what this country was founded on, if we all came together and did all of our business exclusively with one another and started to redirect the flow of money away from those that are bringing socialism here, we will create real change. We just have to get behind something that gives us that information. So as I started developing it, I thought, do I make a conservative list? Do I try to rank businesses? That's not the idea. The idea is for business owners, local business owners, to sign themselves up, and it's free. So like-minded consumers can find them, and it's free for them to use it. We're not making money on that aspect of the site. It's 100% free to list or to use. Just quit spending your money with people that are trying to kill your country.
Boy, that's
wow.
Really, it's
very simple.
It's a simple.
Well, Bud,
concept.
how do you pay for it? Is it advertiser based or?
Did it cost more than $500 million?
Yeah, did it cost $683 million to build?
No, sir. No, sir, it did not. But it did all come out of my hip pocket.
Oh, okay. But how will you pay for it? How you fund it in the future? I mean, if people
we'll
join
do online advertising.
Well, it'll be fine. Yeah, pretty standard business model.
We initially had it where it was going to cost businesses to list, but that took away from the idea. I don't want to put any roadblock in there to prevent anybody from coming to the site and using it. It's free. I don't know how else to say that to you. It's free. Just use it. Quit spending your money with people.
So it's only local businesses?
No, this is nationwide. We're already in California, and we're all the way to Virginia.
But if you're going to buy bread
Minnesota
someplace,
to Florida,
or you're going to go get a cake baked, you wouldn't go to New York to get it. You'd get it in your own neighborhood, and you'd find somebody who's a patriot, it's My Patriot. What is it?
We're all patriots. It's mylocalpatriots.com.
Mylocalpatriots.com. Okay.
And what we all need to start recognizing is that we're the adults in our society. Either this country gets better or it worsens on our watch. I've made a decision to take a stand. I have a 6-month-old daughter, and I refuse to turn it over to her in the path that it's currently on.
I'm with you, man.
Okay,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
We got to go to break or something?
Yep. We have a break
he
now?
He keeps waving his hand over there.
Let's take a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Bud. We're back here. This is Joe Cristiano, Liberty Talk Radio on 1170 KFAQ. We'd like you to give a call, 855-866-1170. It's 855-866-1170. Folks, calls have been slow to this evening. I assume because there's big football games on tonight. Turn the TV off and get on this program, would you please? And do call in. Please, 855-866-1170. We have as our guest Bud Pilch, from creator of the website mylocalpatriots.com. I want to make a comment about what Bud has said. Is that what Bud is doing? He's doing his own thing. His may seem to be relatively small compared to what the government is doing, but just think. Remember the Occupy movement when that was in full swing? The big criticism by government or the government officials of the Occupy movement says, well, no, it's not. It's an ineffective movement because there's no central, leader or anything like that. But the reason why they say that, because that was in fact their strength. The strength is there is no leader, because when you have a leader, you take the leader out, bingo, the whole movement dies. Here, they didn't know really who to attack and how to attack it, and that scared the heck out of them. We had here a couple of months ago a fellow who wrote the book Micro-Secession, and he talked about everyone doing very, very small things. He said, don't look at the grandioso, I'm going to change the world. Plant things in your own backyard, like you're saying with your money. Spend the money among people of like-kindedness. But when you think about it, you think how profound that is, because every penny that you spend, you're either spending enriching the control of government, or you're spending it to enrich individual independence. Just think of that. I just thought of that after Bud was speaking. Bud, why don't you take off on that a little bit more?
Okay. Well, the power of the site, what we're trying to do is to redirect the flow of money. The power of redirection is, let's say we get 10,000 people right here in Tulsa to use this site. Okay. How much money does each person spend in one full year on goods and services? I'm talking gas, dinners, groceries, home improvement projects. If you're working an 8 to 5, it could be most of your paycheck, if not all of it. If you're a small business owner, depending upon how many people you employ and how much work you're trying to create, it could be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that you personally spend into your local economy. Okay, so just for argument's sake, let's put a low number on it and just say that it's $20,000 each. That's all we spend, $20,000.
Right.
10,000 people spending $20,000 is $200 million. I'll say it one more time. $200 million. Right. Okay? By using mylocalpatriots.com, not one red cent of your hard-earned money is going to be spent with those that are trying to take away your freedom. And how much is it going to cost you? It's free.
That's right.
You just got to use the site.
That's right.
That's the power of it. As an individual, I can't do anything to create enough change. I'm just a small business owner. But more importantly, I'm a husband and I'm a father. And I'm a citizen of the greatest nation of any generation, and I refuse to pass this country on to my kid in worse shape than it's handed to me. The steady decline of freedom and our economic instability stops with me. Now, just think how powerful that would be if all of us took responsibility and just said, no, I'm not going to play this game anymore. That's...
Let me play devil's advocate just for a moment. I think your idea. And by the way, I want to support your website. I want to advertise on it, and I'll support it. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. I mean, now, how do we know that a business owner who is really in bed with the government, exactly the antithesis of what we are talking about, comes and advertises on your site?
Okay. It is up to the people to police it. Okay, so let's say that Joe's Taco Stand wants to be on the site, and that's Bill's Taco Stand's biggest competitor. So Bill calls us up and says, hey, Joe is contributing to these socialists here. You need to have him off. Okay, give me proof. Give me hard evidence. And by hard evidence, I mean campaign contributions. Okay? And if this is kind of two-sided here. So if you're a business owner and you're contributing to both sides, okay, and you want to advertise on our site, just understand that if we find out, we're not going to take you off the site. We're just going to put a big brand next to your name so people know that your money is being spent with the progressives and the socialists.
Okay.
So it's up. Now, you can't just call in and say Joe's Taco Stand is a contributor to the progressive movement. You have to give us proof. Hard evidence.
Well, I think some of the people who just, are users of the site,
yes,
such as just one businessman. He says, I need to cater an event, and I'm going to, buy some tacos and cater this little event and have a little Mexicana type of event. And he goes to Joe. Is Joe the one that's a progressive socialist?
Well, he was accused of it.
He was accused of it. Okay. So he goes there, and he gets talking to the guy, and he finds out, just over across the counter that he is kind of a, that type of person, and he's not a liberty-minded at all, and he's kind of a control freak, and he kind of says, this guy's a fraud.
It's all business-minded.
But you know what? You aren't going to go there next time, because your whole mentality, I would think, is trying to do business with people who are against being communist, and so I think there's some good thought there.
We're looking at self-regulation.
Self-regulation.
But above that, it's awareness. Because right now, when I walk into a store,
I don't know.
I don't say, well, let me see, is this a person who would would support what I believe in? But what you're asking us to do is say, it is now time for us to become aware of where we are spending our dollars.
Right.
And this website makes us aware. That's powerful.
That's a good friend of mine gave me an idea, and I put it on the site. And on the banner on the very top, it now says, a network of thinking Americans.
Ah.
God,
that's Joe's theme.
Who in the heck would have thought that?
Must have been a brilliant guy.
It's good marketing.
Now, another thing that we're introducing to the site, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's the former head of the Democratic Party in a county south of us. And we discussed the principles of the site. The principles of the site are business owners believe in small federal government, liberty and opportunity, free enterprise, and self-reliance. Those are the 4 qualifications that you have to promote in order to be on our site. As I was talking to this friend of mine, he was in agreement with everything, what we're trying to do. And the one question that he came up with was, well, Bud, what about all these people that are dependent upon the government? If you're going to minimize government, how do those people get taken care of? Next week on the site, we're going to have a featured business. Now, in order to be a featured business, my first featured business is going to be Eden Structural. I'll tell you a little story about what they did in the local community. One of Mr. Eden's friends or brother-in-law works for the city of Tulsa, and he's the one that rides around and writes tickets if your home's in disrepair or whatever, right? Well, he was talking to Mr. Eden, and he told him there's this little lady up in North Tulsa, and she's 89 years old. She doesn't have any family. Her neighbors are turning her in, and I have to write her tickets. And it was just breaking his heart. He didn't want to do it. So Mr. Eden went up, visited with this lady, and he told her, he said, don't you worry about it. We're going to take care of you. And she said, what do you mean? He said, we're going to fix your home. So on a Saturday, him and his crew went up into North Tulsa, and they fixed this lady's home completely up, where she was no longer going to be getting tickets. And he even went as far as to pay the tickets. Did all of this out of his own pocket. Now, there is charity in the hearts of Americans. Okay? That's something that we all have to remember.
We're very charitable. I know we are very, very charitable.
There's charity in all of our hearts. And the government pushes the charity that they give people so they can set aside the charity that we can provide our own community. It's all of our jobs to take care of each other and provide for one another when they fall on hard times. This little lady had absolutely no relationship with Mr. Eden. He took it upon himself to take care of her. Now,
and you know what's good about that, though, Bud?
Let me finish with one point.
All right.
On the site, when we do that, the featured business, to be a featured business, if you're performing charitable acts, you call us and you send in pictures and you write a little story, and that's the requirement for being the feature. We want to promote the charitable acts that businessmen all across America are doing. That's part of freedom. That's part of liberty. That's part of community.
But you know, is it Mr. Eden, was it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Eden. What's really good about that, Mr. Eden didn't go back and try to get a vote out of that old lady.
Oh.
See, he did it out of the goodness of his heart, and when it comes from the top in government, they're going to be looking for you to support their agenda.
Right.
And it's not a free charitable deal.
Hey, the biggest threats to big government is family and community.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Those
Amen.
are the biggest threats.
Another thing your site can do is buy local. And now buying local is a powerful concept.
Well, that's right. And we're promoting local businesses.
Right.
I'm not in the business. There's already an app out there. It's called Second Vote. If you want to see, as far as on the nationwide scale, how conservative a company is, okay? That's not what this is about. This is about your local business and who in your local economy shares your beliefs. And I'm real careful on the site. We stay away from labels. Labels are very divisive. Yeah. Everyone here knows that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We stay away from labels. We promote Americanism and the idea of Americanism. And that's hard work equals reward. That's taking care of your neighbor. When we start selling this message, we're so far behind on message and we're losing. If we can start pushing our values and understand that by the promotion of freedom, liberty, and charity, we will capture the hearts of the Americans again.
Well, you know what? Those two things used to, conservative and liberal used to kind of mean, really.
Yeah.
And they've developed it into, this polarization of Democrat-Republican. And they've perverted it, okay? What liberal really kind of means is charity.
Yes.
It means, but not government charity, not program charity.
Well, you're talking about classical liberalism. Classical liberalism is libertarianism, which I never use because people do not understand it. They always think of, you're one of those anarchist guys.
But the conservative side of it is sound financial things, like every pot sits, my mother always said this, every pot sits on its own bottom. In other words, independently, you take care of your own business.
That is part of classical liberalism, the same thing.
And you know what, Bud? I mean, Joe talks about this many times about how that it's like an old-fashioned barn raising.
Yes,
exactly what you're talking about. What Eden Structural did for that lady. The
worst, just as we just had this little back and forth right here, we threw out liberal and conservative. We need to all stop using those terms. Yeah. Everybody here understands the left-right paradigm.
Absolutely.
It's been perverted.
Just stop using it and just say, when somebody asks you, I was at a meeting this week with a group of businessmen, and I had one guy ask me, he said, well, what are you? I said, I'm an American.
That's right.
There you go.
And he just kind of sat there and froze for a second. He was looking to label me as if before we can even start a question or start a conversation, I have to know who you are and what you're about. But when I tell people I'm an American, that just sets them off. They don't know where I'm coming from.
That is incredible. But what you're saying, if you're an American, then you subscribe to the precepts of the Constitution.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Right. And the freedom of the individual.
It's simple as that.
You know, exactly. In other words, the Constitution says. And what's interesting is that. Let's just take, and I'm not going to get into the affordability of Obamacare
No, let's
Act.
don't go there.
I don't want to go there. But what's really interesting about that is that only the Congress is permitted to make laws. Who made the Affordability Act? The president. It is unconstitutional, and he should have been impeached just for that alone. But no one's ever mentioned that.
Nobody says it.
No one said it. But here, let me ask you this. Let's assume for a second that a local service station, right, signs up.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, if I knew of that local service, I would be one to go out of my way. And folks, you know I would. I would go out of my way with my motorcycle and my cars, and I would fill up at that service station.
Right.
And I would abandon the one I am now. The one that I am now better prove to me that they subscribe to those same precepts, and if they don't and they're not on that website, they ain't getting a dime from me.
Right.
I think that's so. But how do we get these service stations on that, things that I use every single day, grocery stores, even small shops or
Right.
whatever?
Well, a lot of business owners think that there's a line between business and politics. I hear this all the time. I'm not sure I want to be on the site because I don't want to prevent customer dollars from walking in. Okay. I understand what you're saying. I got 2 points to make to you. The first, business and politics, that line's already being crossed. May I refer you to the Affordable Health Care Act? Okay? The only question is, are you willing to fight back? Now, if you're a business owner and you're concerned about your money, and that's your only concern, and you're unwilling to take a stand, how much is your money going to be worth in 30 years from now? We continue on this path that we're currently on. What's your money worth? Okay? There's a quote by the Greek general Thucydides. He lived 400 BC, lived during the time of the Spartans. And this quote is, let me think about it.
Well, that's profound.
Thank you.
I believe you.
I'll have to get back to it. You just threw me off my total
sorry.
kilter.
I thought I was giving you some time, man.
Just make a conversation.
You are cruel and
I'm cruel. I just threw him off.
inhumane. You
Okay,
know
I got
that.
it.
The Spartan.
I got it.
Okay,
I
tell
got
me.
it.
He's got it now.
Hold on, folks. Here he
Hold
is.
on.
A man, however prosperous in his own dealing, if his country perish, is involved in her destruction.
There you go.
Absolutely.
But
Pretty
Right.
simple.
an unprosperous citizen of a prosperous nation is much more likely to recover. Seeing then, states can bear the misfortunes of an individual, but individuals cannot bear the misfortunes of states. So let us all stand by our country.
There you go.
Now, if you think about that and the power of that statement, that was said 2,500 years ago, almost, right? If you're focused on your money, and your money exclusively, you're focused on just your house, what's it worth when your country falls? It's time for all of us to stand up. If you're not willing to stand up, use the site, okay? If when this site gets to the point where it's big enough, where it's a great business decision for you to come on board, then the followers can go ahead and join the leaders. But you just use it. If you're scared, just use it.
And what's the site again, please, Bud, for our
It's
listeners?
www.mylocalpatriots.com.
It's really kind of brand new. You just kind of rolled it out.
Yeah, I
what
just
did-
rolled it out 2 months ago.
Okay.
I live here in Tulsa. I had the idea 8 months ago. And I've been working on it, trying to get the message right, get the site functional, get it all working, and I did it for less than $636 million. So,
Man, you're something.
and Bud, guess what?
I don't
It
know how
works.
you did do that.
Does it-
I don't know.
and the website works too, right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It actually works.
Yeah, and as a business owner, what do you get on the site? If you come and you sign up, we have a map on the homepage. You get a dot on the map. You get your business listing, a phone number. You can put your logo on the site. You can have a link to your own website.
Will it be searchable? Like if you're looking for, let's say, the taco situation.
Yeah,
then
we have it broken into categories. Right now we have like 5 categories, and as
it develops, it'll get larger.
Right, the categories will become more distinct. Cool. But yeah, we have businesses all the way from California to Virginia and from Minnesota to Florida. We're nationwide.
Oh, really?
Is it categorized by state or?
No, it's just categorized by. You can click on a little button right on the homepage. It says browse local businesses. So then it zooms in. It pulls your IP address,
which is a geographical.
Right, it's a geographical tool.
Geo-targeted.
Okay.
And it will come in, and then you can look at the categories and find whatever you need.
Okay, we have a caller. Let's take the caller because we're running out of time. We're going to make sure we get everyone in here. Albert, is that you from Owasso?
Yes.
Hey,
how you doing?
Fine. Thank you for calling Liberty Talk Radio on 1170 KFAQ. And what's your question or comment for our guest?
My question is, how do you define a patriot? Is it somebody that's a bird with 2 heads? A man that wears a flower pot on his head upside down? Is that a patriot? Is that what you're talking about here?
You got him stumped, buddy.
I'm not sure I understand.
In other words,
no, he's got a question.
Albert, we don't know what the heck you're talking about.
Well, what do you mean by patriot? Are you saying Freemason? Is that what you mean by patriot?
Oh, no.
No. When I refer to the term patriot, what I believe in is I believe in the Constitution. I believe in small federal government.
Yeah, so did all the Freemasons. So did the Tea Party. The guys that threw the tea in the harbor.
What do you believe in, Albert? Let me ask you that. What do you believe in? What is your definition of patriot? And then let's have that discussion.
I believe that the stuff I put on my website moved their building off of 21st Street in Tulsa. That's what I believe.
He's referring to the double-headed eagle. He's referring to the 33rd degree Masonry.
So what about your business did what?
I put stuff on a website that scared them so bad they moved their building off of 21st Street.
So why did you have to say it that way? Why did you have to?
I'm not about negative thoughts here, Albert. What we're trying to do is promote an idea. I could tell you, one negative thing, and I could tell you 99 positives, and you'll remember the one negative.
You think this guy's a Mason?
No, I won't. No. Every time you guys get on there and say and what you're doing and fighting and all this politics, you're doing just what they want you to do.
What is the alternative, Albert? Is it to do nothing?
Wait. Excuse me. Let's. We only have about a minute and a half. When you say "use guys," who are you referring to?
You got to be.
I want you to define that, Albert. If we define that specifically, who is you guys?
You're the one that's got the program. You're the one that's saying get up and fight and do all this, and you're the one that's barking the loudest.
Okay, I'm barking. Okay, now what about me? Tell me about me. What am I doing that I do not understand?
Well, the people that are the ones that are running the FEMA camps and all the people that you're talking about, you are actually doing exactly what they want you to do.
How do you figure? No, wait. Let's stop right there. Don't go any further. How specifically? How am I doing what they want me to do by being independent?
You're on the radio, stirring everybody up and getting everybody all agitated about these FEMA camps and all that. If you would just ignore and totally not even address them, we could go on and get the answer to something.
Oh, you mean say nothing and be quiet, right?
Right.
Just like...
No. Say something, but say the answer. Quit talking about them. Quit saying how bad it is. Just give us the answer.
What should we say?
Now, when you say give the answer, I did. I want you to think, okay? Albert, I'm sorry, we are about out of time. I want to thank you. Call back next week, Albert. Appreciate very much your calling in, okay? Here we go. Folks, thank you so much for listening to Liberty Talk Radio. We'd like to thank our sponsors for their financial support. We'd like to thank Bud Pilch from our local Patriots for being our guest today. And we'd like to thank you for listening in. You can help the cause of liberty by recommending this program to your friends and let us hear from you. Okay? Our email address is comments@libertytalkradio.com. Until next time, this is Joe Cristiano on 1170 KFAQ. Stay well, stay tuned.